This is BadDadPod.
BadDadPod. Familiar face.
It's good to see.
Welcome back. No, I'm joking.
Welcome back. Bro,
Yeah.
this is awesome. Last time you saw us, we were trying to figure out like where we would do podcasts, and lo and behold, here we are a year later.
As I'm walking into this place, I'm like, yo, this is like nice. Like if you can't see it, if you've ever been like seen a live show, like they have this LED screen. And so I'm just walking in, I'm just seeing this. Like this is like first time seeing it, I'm just seeing the giant screen. I'm like, yo, I remember when we had to edit that on a wall.
Yeah.
Because it was my blank kind of room.
Yeah.
And now we actually have like real chairs and a real table, not a table that we kind of sawed in half.
Literally.
Make things work and all that.
Yeah. Shout out.
This is nice. This is really nice, man. Really upgrade. I feel special.
Yeah, dude. That's how I feel every time we sit here at Dave & Buster's. Shout out Dave & Buster's.
Shout out
Also,
to
too,
Dave & Buster's.
WrestleMania is coming up.
Okay.
No cover charge here for WrestleMania.
All right.
Come watch WrestleMania.
Come and eat you some
6th and 7th of April.
Okay.
We will be here. We're going to be here
All right.
on night 2, the 7th. Y'all want to come here and check it out live streaming with the crew. Split Decision Podcast, guys. It's going to be awesome. Cap, Angel, Johnny. I think Spence is coming. Baseball Girl is coming. I'll be here. Maybe Sly going to be here. Maybe he'll pop in.
Think about it. Like, I don't know. Like, every single time you go to these like bars or sports, bars or anything like that to eat, like you always have to pay a cover charge.
Yeah, always have to pay cover.
No cover charge here. You can play some games during like the boring matches and whatnot.
Yep.
Get you some sliders. Get you some wings.
Dude, their burgers are amazing. I just ate one.
I do like the burgers here.
They're so good.
Are pretty tasty.
Yeah.
Like usually places like this, their food is horrible.
Yes.
It's like a microwave, but I feel like they have a real kitchen back there.
They do, and they're proud of it. And they just did like the beginning of last year. They did a menu revamp, and they're about to do another one.
Okay.
So, dude, they keep this game stepped up.
I will say, like, I was here maybe about a year ago, and like the way they've remodeled this place, it's nice. So if you haven't been to Dave & Buster's in a while, this is
Check it out.
To check it out, come in and support Bad Dad and
Support AD.
And
AD Media.
And all AD Media. I just followed that on Instagram the other
Yeah,
day.
we're separate. We have separated channels. So you guys want the sports stuff, you can go to Athletically Declined Sports. It will be there as it always is. But for the non-sports stuff, guys, it's 2024. Algorithms are a thing, and that's what we're trying to do is help the algorithm to get this out to more people that might like it. And also, too, maybe you guys might get annoyed with seeing stuff that you don't want, and you want sports and not non-sports stuff. So, hey, you can go find us there, and you're going to find BadDadPod there. You're going to find reality on there. And we've got a new show that we're working on. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but it's going to be a new take on. I don't want to say anything else. It's going to be cool.
I'm going to say it's Tyler Wrestling Alligator.
I am. I am. And going to talk like this on the entire time on there. Going to be over there in the crawfish, boy. All right. So, been a year. Officially been a year that podcasting between the two of us has existed. Like 1 year. Man. Athletically Declined will turn 1 year April 4th.
All right.
Come a long way.
Dude, you have come a long way. You know, I've stepped away for various reasons and different stuff. None of it really bad.
You just got a lot going on, bro. You busy.
I am super busy, and AD for the attention that it required and needed. Mm-hmm. You know, one of the things I told like Tyler early on is like, dude, like I don't want to slow you down. And I was trying to do some of the basketball stuff, and I was doing little segments and stuff like that, but I could not do them fast enough or get them out. And I know the team and the team that you got, which man, it's a solid group, solid guys. Like I watched some of the stuff and things like that, and I was like, man, I'm holding back. And I remember somebody sent a message out one time.
Ooh,
like,
I'm about that.
Well, while you're doing that, I just kind of thought. Someone sent a message out and was like, hey, like, yo, we need some guys to kind of commit, and we need some guys to post some videos and do your part. And I was like, man, I know it wasn't aimed towards me, but I felt very much like, you know what, I'm holding people back from doing that. And so I just, reached out to them. I was like, hey, dude, like, I'm slowing y'all guys down. I'm y'all guys are trying to run, and if you don't know, I'm a little on the heavy side, and I like to stroll and walk,
hey, man.
And maybe jog a little. And so I stepped away and started handling all the different things. But man, like supporting, big cheerleader of y'all. I mean, I rep that
Yep.
nice black AD hat.
Oh, yeah.
I got a new hat to start repping starting today.
And we talk all the time too. Like that's the other thing too. Is like it wasn't like Sly like stepped away and like we didn't talk. Like I probably every major decision I think I've talked to Sly about before I made one with AD.
It's fun, like to be like the inside, get the
Yeah.
inside scoop before some of the stuff is announced. Like,
Sure.
I know what's happening. I
Yeah.
know what's going on.
Yeah.
I know all the stuff that's happening. So,
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, we're still friends. Mm-hmm. Hey, our boys are on the same baseball team. So
They sure are.
Got dad life going on. Technically, T-ball team.
Team,
But
but
we're dads trying to do the dad thing, you know.
yeah, and to kind of swing it, because one thing that everybody loves about Bad Dad, man, we called some sports stuff,
We called a lot
and
of
it was around
we
the same
called the
time.
Bear stuff before like the Bear stuff even happened. We started calling trades and stuff like that, and now the Bears are sitting pretty. Do you have any predictions coming into the draft?
Yes.
Or are you saving that for some of the sports
No,
stuff?
I'm gonna hit it here because this is where we're doing. We're gonna do it again.
Okay.
So Caleb Williams can go number one.
Yeah.
He is not my number one quarterback.
No,
I did that on when we did quarterbacks and coffee. Me and Spence, we broke that down. My number one quarterback in this draft class is Jaden Daniels. Sorry.
Okay.
Caleb is 1B to me. 2B, I think it's JJ McCarthy. I'm becoming more and more convinced. I think Drake May has higher upside.
I am like a Drake. Like, I don't believe he's gonna come out and do what Stroud.
No.
Stroud did.
He's going to have a Josh Allen burn.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I can see that.
And he's got a similar I don't know. He worries me because he's that prospect that like if he doesn't go to the right spot, I don't trust his ability to like develop himself. Does that make sense? Because like I look at Jaden Daniels and like, dude, like the tape don't lie. Like if you're watching and Spence ain't sold on him, and so I'm gonna be careful with what I say here, but like you're watching that tape, you're gonna watch it again. Because like the man is fast as lightning. He's got a cannon. He can make the throws. And at the very end of the day, like if these guys we've seen in the NFL, like these quarterbacks, these young guys, if the play breaks down and they can't make their reads, they can run and they survive.
Yeah.
That's how Justin Fields survived.
Yep.
So, with that being said, I think the third quarterback off the board is J.J. McCarthy.
Okay.
I think you're going to go 1, Bears, Caleb Williams. I think it's smoke and mirrors for number 2. I think the Commanders get Jaden Daniels. I'm not buying J.J. McCarthy at 2. I'm just not.
Yeah.
You're telling me that you're going to take J.J. McCarthy, who still has like, we don't have the extent of the tape that we want. Yeah. We've seen him cool in shorts, but guess what, Sly? Zach Wilson. He looked good in shorts too.
He did, and he is. Oh man, dude, I feel sorry for you.
Hey,
the Jets.
There's always this year.
Hopefully, we did kind of predict that the Jets would have a historic year. We just didn't think it was gonna be this historic.
Oh
go
my
down
God,
this route, go down this side of the things. But they had, you could say, a pretty historic year.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm interested to see this Caleb Williams thing because you're seeing all the drama that's surrounding him. Like I don't know. I am not sold on Lincoln Riley as like this great ultimate like quarterback producer, right? In college, right? I'm not. I'm not. And
I like that.
I know that's
such a hot take, and I love it.
It's a hot take, but I mean, like, think about it. Like, okay, fine. And I know people are going to be like, okay, Sly, well, look at Baker. Baker got into the playoffs this year. Hey, Sly, look at Kyler Murray. Like, look at that. Oh, Sly, look at Jalen Hurts because he did have Jalen Hurts for a while. Look at that. Like, I get that, but like when you think about like great quarterback play, right? Think about great quarterback play.
Yeah.
Like those guys are not like Lincoln guys, man. I think those guys are like heavy turnover machines. Like, am I wrong in that? Like, I think they turn over the ball quite a bit, and then when you have a team that's inferior, right? Those turnovers like cost a lot. Like you feel like a Patrick Mahomes, right? Like fine, he's gonna throw a turnover, but he's gonna like score 3 or 4 touchdowns, right? Like, but when you have a guy like ain't producing the touchdowns, but instead he's throwing these at, and that's supposedly right. Caleb is like the ultimate Lincoln Riley QB, like the ultimate, like top of the top, the best of the best.
Right.
But I'm not sold on him, dude. Like, if that's the best, like, really?
I'm sorry. I have more, and y'all gonna probably roast me for this. I got more faith in Kyler Murray.
I was literally thinking that right now. I trust Kyler Murray more to, like, bring you over the hump and carry it over.
He's such a freak athlete, bro.
Yeah.
Like, people forget this man was guaranteed the most money of any first round baseball player to stay and sign as the 5th pick for Oakland A's. The 5th pick. This wasn't like, what was it? Was it Russ that was drafted in like the 5th round or something to the Yankees and went?
Yeah.
Kyler was going to, like, the way that Oakland was going, how bad that franchise is, Kyler would have. I think we talked about this. I predicted that I thought Kyler would have came out of camp as the starting center fielder for that team.
He could have. If he wanted to, he could have.
Because
of course, the team's bad.
Yeah.
The team's horrible. And I think even at minimum, just for ticket sales.
Yeah.
At minimum for ticket sales. And he would have been decent enough to keep on. I believe in Kyler way more than I believe in Caleb Williams.
There's something about that athlete gene.
Like,
It's just an athlete.
But even then, like, I felt like Kyler did more in college, man. Like, I think
Yes.
he
Yes, he
more.
did.
And don't get me wrong, you can dog on the Big 12 and all. Like, I get that, and I get the arguments USC and the level of competition. But man, like this year, like in college, I felt like it was a regression for Caleb. It looked like he couldn't rise up to the occasions where I feel like Kyler did. Shoot, Baker even did, man. Like, in the occasions in college and stuff like that.
Where was what? You tell me this. Tell me what Caleb Williams' career-defining college game. I can't think of it. Yeah. But you know what I do remember? I do remember a Baker Mayfield dueling Pat Mahomes in the Cotton Bowl.
Back and forth, yeah.
There was over 1,000 yards passed in that game.
Yep.
I remember that.
Yep.
And look at what it's yielded. I mean, technically, if you really want to look at it, with the caveat that Jalen Hurts did go to a Super Bowl,
Yep.
I think Baker has been the most successful because Baker Mayfield took the Browns organization to its first playoff game in what was it, 25 years?
Yeah.
Something like that.
I mean, horrible franchise.
First win,
Yep.
right? And Jalen was playing behind a monster
He made
defense.
the Bucs look respectable this year.
Yeah.
Again, I know my take was very controversial with Lincoln as we're talking about
I love
great
it.
accomplishments of these quarterbacks.
Because remember, Baker got Cliff. I didn't even think about this before he went to.
Yeah. I know it sounds like wild, and I know that, and I get that, because we're naming some heavy hitters.
Oh, I love this.
We're naming some heavy hitters, but I don't know, man. Like none of these guys, like they're great, right?
Yeah.
Like, fantasy football, like you want to draft
Right.
these guys. These guys will get you your points that you
Right.
need, but at the same time, like guys that I'm thinking that are gonna lead you over the hump, they're gonna win you that. Like I don't know, like those guys just don't. See, could it be because of coaching? Could it be whatever? I don't know. I don't know what it is. But because of that, I have to put Caleb Williams into this position saying, I just don't know, man. Like, I just...
Mentally, bro.
I don't think he can do that. I think, the issues that he's dealt with, like the pressure and all that,
Right.
he expounded a whole lot more. And
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. I think Chicago, they made all the smart moves. They're going to surround him. But at the same time, like, Chicago's like, man, if you want to be like a successful quarterback in the NFL, you don't want to go to Chicago. Like, Chicago has not done well with any quarterback they've drafted.
Tell me what quarterback Matt Eberflus has developed. Name one. We're talking, and again, like, for me, and we've talked about this on AD multiple times, it never has made sense to me that they looked at this team and Matt Eberflus, who, honestly, if you guys actually paid attention last year, dude should have been fired.
Yeah.
He's fighting for his job, and they think, oh, you know what? Let's go draft another quarterback, even though we literally beat the team in the NFC Championship game and almost swept them with Justin Fields. And you think that the best idea is not to continue to surround him with weapons, which when you gave him one, he actually produced.
Yeah.
You think, no, let's change him out.
Man, you know what they should have done? They should have kept. Go ahead, dude. You got to get the screen going. I think they should have kept. My opinion, they should have kept Fields and flipped for more picks, and really surrounded this guy with like talent. I think Fields has a lot of the stuff, but then again, he's just in a team not properly developed, not properly surrounded. I think he has the stuff, man, and when you surround him with the right people and things like that, I think he looked. I don't know. He looked great. He could have been the first Ohio State, quarterback to actually come out and do something. Instead, that went to my guy, C.J. Stroud, right? I'm pretty proud of that. But yeah, I don't know. Again, I know it's a very hot take. I'm just not impressed with Lincoln Riley. I just feel like his QBs can never help him get over that hump collegiately, and it can never help. And then when they come to the pros, they can never get like they're good. They can get you into the playoffs. Jalen get you into the playoffs. A lot of it, I do believe. I think in the football realm, like to get over those humps, a lot of that's coaching. I understand that, and I get that. I think in the pros, coaching to get you over that hump is a whole lot more.
I agree.
Than that, but at the same time, like none of Lincoln Riley's QBs have been able to get over those humps collegiate. Because again, think about it, like guys like Menzel, like they overcame bad coaching,
Right,
and made themselves shine. And I think that's the thing about like college football. Like if you have a great coach, you have a great QB, you can overcome everything.
right.
And if Lincoln's supposed to be this great guy, and he's having all these great QBs, not overcoming, like something's up.
And see, for me, I think that Lincoln Riley is way overrated as a quarterback coach and drastically underrated at a wide receiver producer.
Really?
Think about his wide receivers he's produced since he's been
Name
in
some.
college.
I'm
CeeDee Lamb,
You're right.
okay? Hollywood Brown.
Okay.
I'm trying. I know I'm missing one, but let's go to Jordan Addison.
Okay.
Let's go to Jerry Rice's boy. I mean, and I know I'm missing some for. I think Mark Andrews was Ohio State. I mean, was Oklahoma also.
Yeah.
Pretty positive Mark Andrews was. I mean,
Hey.
I'm just saying, like, you look at that, and for me, I'm like, okay, like, why aren't we talking about the? Because he's got way more successful like receivers, I think, than he does.
Interesting.
Quarterbacks.
Again, I don't want to make it sound like his quarterbacks are good. They're not great.
And see, that's the thing. It's like, the same thing with, I'm not going to open this can of worms, like, and get into it, but I'm just going to throw this out there.
When you finish, I got something
Yeah.
to share.
So like Caleb Williams is literally like, they say, the media literally finds every year like the generational quarterback. And last year or a couple years ago, it was Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
And Trevor Lawrence, I'm sorry, whether you like it or not, Trevor Lawrence was a bust because you put him on a pedestal that said he was generational and that he was the best thing since Andrew Luck. And he wasn't.
No.
Like, I'm sorry, but Trevor Lawrence is going to be Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I believe the hype, man. I thought Trevor Lawrence was going to come out and sling that thing and do that thing. And man, as a Texan fan, I was worried.
Yeah.
Like, man, we're going to now be stuck behind and living in the shadows. But you look at it now, I'm like, man, go ahead.
He's a good quarterback.
I mean, he's great.
He's a good quarterback. He's
gonna
gonna hang out there at 7, 8, 9. He's gonna be maybe at its best. He's a 6, maybe a 5 guy 1 year. Okay, but that's Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Like that's who he is. He is Matt Ryan. So I just think that Caleb Williams, like in the hype around that, it's not there.
So this is what it kind of hit me as you were talking. I think if you think about all these quarterbacks we named, Baker, Jalen, thinking about Kyler, now Caleb. You know one thing that just kind of all unite them? They all have this diva-ness to it. And that's what I think it is. All right? Like Baker, like grabbing his nuts on the sideline, things like that. He has that attitude, but it's kind of diva-ish,
Yes,
almost.
no, 100%.
Caleb is a total, like, diva, like, wants everything. Like, there's rumors at one point that he was going to demand, like, 100% ownership.
Yes,
draft
yes.
him and things like that. All the issues with the Eagles this year, it seems like coaching, but coaching that's given into a different person. Like, am I wrong in that?
I don't think so.
The whole entire video game thing and the whole
I mean, he's a member of FaZe
thing.
Clan, and that's like his main like focus is being a FaZe guy.
But remember,
Yeah.
So if for me, it's probably not that Lincoln's not a bad QB coach. Maybe I need to readjust my take. But it's that he allows them to be divas in college,
The ego.
It allows them to have that ego, lets them kind of hang out there,
Mm-hmm.
and then when they go to the pros, they still think like that. They
Right.
still bring that mentality in, and in the NFL, unless you're like a Brady, like that doesn't fly. But even then with Brady, like you watch a lot of his interviews, like
Right.
I watched someone with C.J. Stroud. It's like, man, it's your job. It's like your job to like bring it all and give it
Right.
all in the off season. Like all your friends are gonna want to party and spend your money, but no, if you want to be the greatest, like it's a different mentality, right? It's a different mindset. That you don't, I don't know, like with the Brady's, like some of these other guys, you don't see that kind of diva-ness.
No,
Am I wrong?
no, you're not. Like look at Joe. Look at Joe Burrows of the world. Look, I mean, Lord, I can't stand him. I think he's the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. But look at Tua. I mean, you know, you can even, you know, go look at Trevor Lawrence. Go look at Anthony Richardson. Go look at Geno Smith. Go look at Brock Purdy. I mean, you name all these guys, and like, I mean, what? Like, you want to say? I mean, Pat Mahomes ain't like that.
Yeah.
Josh Allen ain't like that. Like, I mean, so
You can go into the greats like Peyton, things like that. Like
Lamar Jackson is.
Yeah.
Like, but really, that's it. And honestly, if I'm Lamar Jackson, I'm in his situation, I probably act that way too. If I've got a freaking team, you know, an organization that will not play to my strengths, literally has an offensive coordinator for my entire career, basically just wanted to run the ball and didn't want to utilize me correctly, and then they didn't want to pay me after I won 2 MVPs.
Yeah.
Like, that's wild. But I digress on that stuff, man. So let me ask you this: like,
go ahead.
as a dad,
Okay.
do you feel like that seeing stuff like this go down, that this is a environment thing leaving home, or do you think this starts at the home? And again, we're not judging his home life by any means, but like, do you think that these situations, like we've seen in the past, I'm talking about how they evaluate players and stuff, and how they look at that, and they look all the way back to like the family.
Yep. Man, I believe, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I haven't seen enough families. I feel like I have, right? But I really truly believe that some parents believe the hype of their kids, right? They believe them, they celebrate them, they cheer them, which I truly believe that all parents should hype them up and hype up their kids and things like that. Like when my son does a good job, I hype him up, but I'm also like, man, a realist.
Right.
Like when my son does bad, I try to let him know. Again, at a very early age, I do it age appropriately and things like that. And I don't believe that he's hung the moon, right? I don't believe like my kids have hung the moon. I think some of these people do, and they have that talent. But when they meet adversity, and they go through these difficulties of all these different things, I think it just gets to their head, man. And it gets, and then they get with the coach,
right?
And they see that talent. And again, you know, the percentage, like high, you know, from like junior high, then high school, then you know, college, like the pool gets smaller and smaller and smaller, right? Of like the talented people that like you being like pretty much a big fish, right?
Right.
The pond gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, right? And so when you're in high school, you can just ball out, and he probably was the top recruit and things like that. I can imagine, right? And
5-star.
All the hype comes around you. Everybody's going to your games, and you just get this hype. And so I believe at some point he's never really heard like, hey, but that really sucked. Even on his bad games, probably he didn't hear a lot like, hey, dude, like this is the ways that you can improve and kind of get coached up in certain ways. And again, people are probably going to kill me in the comments like, well, you're saying the coach never corrected him? Like, yeah, no, I'm
sure coach corrected him.
Did,
yeah.
Like, at some point, man, like when you're a school and you have such a talented player, like, right, like your coaches feel like they're walking on eggshells because they're going to be scared they're going to transfer to the other high school.
Right, yeah, like especially now.
Offering you money to come and play for them and things like that. And, you know, like people feel like they got to walk on eggshells so that you don't leave and go play for that other, you know, AAU team or go play for that other high school team or play for that. So, yeah, they're correcting, but it's a completely different level of correction, I feel, right? Where I think, like, you look at, I don't know, I know it's very controversial right now, right, because he's in hot water, right? But you look at Japan, right? They're producing all these Japanese players, and I know Japanese players with all this issue with Shohei, and then what's his name? The pitcher that they got, the Dodgers got, right?
Yamamoto.
Yamamoto, yeah.
Yamamoto.
He doesn't look good, right? But you know, the talk was about the Japanese, right? Like how they develop players and why are they producing this talent? Well, it's because they put the very best like coaches in Little League. Like they put the best of the best of the best. Where we put our best of the best towards the end of their careers, right? They put the best of the best of the best at the very beginning of their careers. And so that way they can kind of manage. And there's like that ego stuff gets shot down real fast.
Right.
Real fast. Right? Because then you have like one of the best of all time tell you, hey, you suck out there.
Right.
Like, how do you deal with that? Like, you got to learn how to overcome that. So with all that to say is like, I don't know, like my experience and other people that I've known, that people that have been in the game and played at a very high level,
Right.
that played like basketball, college, and things like that. Like, there's always that fear. Like, you're talented, you're good.
Right.
I'm scared you're gonna go end up playing for that team across town. So how do I? Like my buddy, I have a buddy who played with Chris Bosh. He was around the same year as LeBron and things like that. So Chris Bosh was supposed to be playing on this team to represent Texas, right? But Bosh didn't want to play with him because he wanted to play with LeBron and all of them. And so, like, the coach tried to navigate that. At the end of the day, he still lost, right? And Bosh went to go play with all his buddies.
Right.
Right? So, like, that's the difficulty that you have to navigate.
Right.
I think, as a coach in these areas, in these places, in these
Right.
spaces. And so, yes, he's probably faced some criticism, but when you're that freaking talented, right? I'm not saying he's not talented. When you're that freaking talented and that freaking good, like, there's some bending and curving and correction.
Right. No, and that makes sense, and I agree. I think I think that we're, I mean, with sports in general, I think that we're idolizing these kids because they're kids at such a young age and telling them how they're worth more money than they've ever seen in their life at such a young age, and then I mean, like you it's just like with anything, right? It's like a cancer. It really is, because you give them a taste, right, or an addiction, probably a better term, and they want a little more, and next thing you know, like, they have to have not only the constant what's it called, affirmation, but that starts to grow into the level of what that looks like.
Yeah, I was watching Pat the other day and he was talking about like Saban and why Saban decided to retire. It's because Saban was done with EYL. Right? Because you have all these other schools saying, hey, you're talented, you're good enough, I'll pay you whatever you want. And so this man had to turn into like not only a coach, but he also had to become like a general manager for the whole entire thing. And he had to be the one to do that because he had to determine the talent and the value of all these different guys. So he's like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. Right now, I was talking like he doesn't want to do this anymore because of the fact that he is no longer just like able to just coach football.
Right.
Now he has to say, affirm and say you're good, and hey, I'll put you in front of the line, I'll make sure that you play so you don't go ahead and leave. Like you're right. Now that with like money entering college, right?
NIL's ruining it, man.
This affirmation now has to continue going on. And so like I really think, and I truly believe, like especially when you have a kid that's like, okay, wait a minute now, like this kid's being looked at, like of course the parents are gonna continue to affirm. Like it's natural. Right? Because you're like, yo, like we get a chance, like all this investment that we put in, all those Saturdays at the park, like all those weekends that we spend, all that money we spend on travel, like we may get something back.
Right.
And I don't think parents are evil or wrong for thinking like that or wanting like that, but they're happy. They want to see their kids achieve the highest level of professionalism and maybe follow and chase their dreams. I don't think parents are wrong for that. Where I think it's wrong is like, yo, like I think sometimes that goal and the expectation is a little too high. I think being realistic sometimes with your kids is like the best thing can do. Like, I want my kids to dream and imagine that they could be anything.
Right.
But at the same time, like, probabilities for them to be certain things, like, I have to be kind of realistic with them.
Right.
And say, hey, like, money's probably not there for that.
Right.
Or, you know, hey, baby, like, I love you, you're great, like, at this, but you're not the best in your team.
Right.
Like, you know, navigating that with my daughter this year with soccer. Right. She was super excited, and she does not like to practice. Like, she hates practicing. And we can do everything. I can put the goals out there and things like that. She doesn't. But she's like, her hand-eye coordination is good enough, right? And she's speedy enough, athletic enough that she can just go out there really with no practice and just kind of dominate. And she dominates about 80%. But this is the first year she plays in a co-ed league. First year where she started playing with like boys that really knew what they were doing. She had played in the past with some boys and owned them, stole the ball from them, and just like embarrassed them. This year, she played with some boys that probably did practice.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, she's an amazing goalie. Right? Again, with natural talent. Amazing goalie. She kind of went out and tried to do the goalie thing and things like that. And this one kid from, like, literally half field looks at her, sees that she's out, kicks it, and just gets it, like, right perfectly in the corner.
Really?
Like, perfectly in the corner. And she's just like,
David Beckham.
I literally, and she thought that thing was going out. And I was trying to tell her, like, babe, like, you're now dealing with kids that are practicing and have that talent.
Club players.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like that kid's next jump is going to be into like a little club.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was telling her, are you going to practice or not? I was just trying to be realistic with it. Like,
Yeah.
you're good, but your talent's only going to get you so far.
And see, that's what's tough too, is when you see, like, I think your kids have talent.
Yeah.
Because, like, for me, like, I mean, last year, like, with Benjamin playing T-ball for the first time, like, kid's freaking 4 years old,
Yeah.
out there, never once, like, been on a field
Yeah.
practicing. First time he's getting ground balls hit to him on a field, he's sliding and scooping balls. So I'm like, oh snap, dude's throwing from shortstop to first base with barely even a hop, if a hop. So we get out this year. It's like, I mean, I haven't worked with him at all. It's first practice. It's like he never left,
Yeah.
and he's out there just
That's all,
launching missiles.
Hit that thing pretty far.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like, okay, he don't like practice either. It's like, all right, dude, like, how do you navigate that? Because it's like, you look at it and I'm like, man, I was never that much of an athlete. Like,
It's like, it's hard. Like, how do you navigate that, push that? And maybe you can share how you do it in your home. But like, I remember I really wanted to learn the guitar, so maybe you can kind of relate.
Yeah.
Maybe as a musician, right? I really wanted to learn the guitar when I was little. Parents bought me a guitar and everything like that. And then my church, they do little lessons, and I grew up in a small Hispanic church, right? So they did like kind of a choir of guitars, and they did kind of typically kind of start your worship off and things like
Yeah.
that. And so they would do little lessons, kind of teach about like after.
right.
Right. Well, me, I struggled. I wasn't good, and I had to go through the whole entire practice trying. It's like I don't know what to do, and they're telling me all these chords, and I'm like, I don't know what that chord is.
Right.
And so after a while, there was a show that came out. I don't even fully remember the show, other than what's the name? Christopher Lloyd was in it, and I wanted to watch this show. Right. It's basically like a video game. The video game goes into the real world, and now they got to bring the video game characters back into the video game. And it's like, I would rather watch this than struggle with the guitar. Right. Now, you know, there's a point I can look back. It's like, man, I wish I would have stuck, because like I really enjoy playing the guitar. It's like a little small hobby. And I don't have to own a guitar anymore. When I see a guitar, I like to pick it up. Like when I was at your house, pick up the guitar, so I kind of play with it, things like that. Because I wish I would really learned and stuck with it as a kid. But I have a buddy on the other hand. He's now the music director of a really big church in Dallas, right? Huge church in Dallas. But his parents like made him stick with it. And the days that he's like, no, I want to sit in the back and play with my friends at church, because that's all we're all doing, hanging out. Parents like, nope, right? Dragged him by the ear, took him out, spanked him a couple times. People go, yeah, that's controversial, whatever. But I mean, that's what we did back in the '90s, right? We spanked, and so they spanked him, and then before you know it, he's over here playing the piano, doing that. But now he's made a whole entire career of music, and he's like excellent. Like he's played in very famous orchestras, got some like not necessarily full rides, but got amazing scholarships for his musicianship.
Right.
Amazing musician, because his parents kind of pushed him. Right. Where my parents on the other hand is like, hey, if you don't want to do it, that's up to you. Like, Like, where's that balance? Like, do you do in your home, right? To like, okay, I don't want my kids to end up hating me. Right. But at the same time, I want them to be better. Like, they just got to get over that hump of like, that not like they don't see the future, right? They don't understand, like it takes like a little bit of practice to get over that. Like, how do y'all navigate that?
So for me, like I look at it this way, because this is kind of how my parents were. They were like, you know, you can do whatever you want, or you don't have to do it, but if you commit to it, you're gonna finish it.
Yeah.
So like that's how I am with him, because like there's a point last year in T-ball where he like we had to leave early from a practice because he was just pitching a fit, or he didn't want, and he would sit out in soccer because he'd get upset. But like you're gonna understand that you're gonna keep going. If that's you showing up to practice and you get mad and sit out, you will be there because you're committing to it. Now, next year you don't want to play, don't play. But what I will say is something that I feel like is important, at least from my perspective, is making sure when they're old enough, because obviously Benjamin's 5, he's not really old enough to really understand, have a conversation for him to really comprehend, like, you know, the depth of words and what I'm saying. But when he is able to, right, to, you know, let him know, like, hey, you're actually gifted in this. Before you just quit, really think about it, because here's some life examples of things I've gone through, things that people I know, like family members, that wish that they would have just pushed through it. Like I have a cousin who probably could have played college baseball, but when he was not even in high school, junior high, like he was, I'm talking like every single summer, fall ball, all the way up until 7th grade. And then after that, like since he was like 5, and then in 7th grade, he quit. And like literally like had like some of the high school kid, like scouts being like, hey, like you're gonna play, right? He's like, no, I'm done. And he wishes now that he would have stuck with it, and because he probably could have played. Now, would he have gone pro? I don't know, but he could have at least gone to college and played. That's still cool. I mean,
Money, things
yeah.
like that.
So
Yeah, like we have a saying in our house, like you can quit, but you can't quit today.
yeah,
Like you can wait till the end of the season, and we'll reevaluate and see where you're at, and maybe we'll do it again next year, and maybe we won't. Like this year, my daughter didn't do a coach pitch. She was really she went from bottom lineup to like mid lineup, kind of clean up, and she did it just by practicing at home. We
Right.
made her practice because again, you can quit, but you can't quit
Right.
today, and she got better. But at the same time, when it came down to it, she's like, I really don't like it.
Yeah.
Just went back and forth, really don't like it. And so that's kind of where we're trying to do as well. Like we letting them finish seasons, let them do that. My daughter's now at the age where I'm trying to communicate like that life lesson, to her.
Right.
That, in life you're gonna do some things that are gonna be hard, and that's the big thing for my daughters. Like if it's too hard, she doesn't want to do it, because she wants to be good at everything she does, and let her know like, hey, like some days you're not gonna be good. There's gonna be people that are better than you, and at the same time, like you have to grow, and you're gonna be at a job one day where you're not gonna be the best. You're gonna have to continue to work at it every single day. So just like this, okay, you're playing in this hot sun and it may not be the fun. Hey, work's not gonna be the fun. And so trying to at least connect to like valuable like lessons
Right.
that she can kind of understand, because maybe, it'd be awesome if she ends up playing some type of ball in college. It'd be awesome if she ends up, being successful musician or whatever the thing is, but trying to make those connections to the real world, because statistically, we know statistics, and because of my height and stature,
Yeah.
she may not be the tallest
Right.
person to play college hoop or to play whatever sport or volleyball,
Right.
whatever she may want to dream of. I don't want to shoot down her dreams, because again, people have overcome, Muggsy Bogues, height, and things like that. That's definitely happened. But I want to be also realistic. It's like, okay, hey, how do I tie this like to the real world and say, hey, this is something that maybe not t-ball, but
Right.
the mindset is something that needs to be tied into the real world to get you past that. And I think when we look at some of these athletes, I think that's the issue. It's just so focused on sports, meal tickets. So like when you watch like ESPN Broke, man, it just breaks your heart to see these cats so broken, because it was only communicated. This is your meal ticket.
Right.
This is what you're doing. Like it was like I don't know if I told you, but we brought Dwayne Brown in for a show at GTSM, and he was the guy who scored the first touchdown at Texas Stadium when they built it way back in the day.
Yeah.
Right? And so, he's big in the cowboy world and things like that. This homeboy was homeless. Like, he's homeless. Now, of course, he played in the era of football where they paid you like sack lunches and things
Right,
like that.
right.
You played because you loved the sport, but like he had nothing to show for the money that he had left over for him.
Well, I think also too, like back in those days, right? Like they were so accustomed to working hard because it was harder
Yeah.
not working hard, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think now, like going back to like our kids talking about that, and I think one for me at least, like I'm not going to be the parent that allows my kids to think that he knows how to balance his own emotions at 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
kids are emotional.
Yeah.
Like they make very not like they're not making thought through decisions,
Yeah.
because all they know is I'm angry and I'm lashing out. They don't understand and able to take a step back and go, why am I angry? Why? They don't. And if you think that they do, you're freaking out of your mind. Go read a book, because like that's just and the other thing too is when you couple that with like most kids today allowed to be soft, it doesn't help things. So you emotional and allowing them to be soft, and that goes back to your walking on eggshells, and that's where it's, like whether it's I don't want you to leave our program, or whether it's, I don't want you to I don't want to hurt your self-confidence. Sometimes like a self-check is okay.
Yeah.
You have to be gentle with it, but like you don't need to like, again, like it's like the whole like last place trophy thing. Kids need to understand, like, because I want my son to understand, whether you're playing t-ball or not, there's no tie.
Yeah.
Like, you either win or you lose. And if you lose, figure out why you lost and go get better.
Yeah.
Like, you have to. How else are you supposed to self-improve as a person?
It's on my reading list, but like Rogan had that lady who I guess she worked for the New York Times, and she wrote a book about like a lot of this Gen Z, right?
Yeah.
like Gen Z should be the generation that's dealing with less anxiety.
I saw
all
that episode.
And I watched it, and there's a book. So it's on my reading list. I got to read maybe, we do like another extra reunion.
Yeah.
I'll read it and we can kind of talk about it. But she makes this argument that essentially about counseling and how counseling for a young age is not necessarily the best. Because counselors really kind of see it as meal tickets. Again, I know this is very controversial, very hot takes.
Yeah.
But she argues with the studies that she's done and things like that, that of course counselors kind of want you to not be 100%, right? Because you can continue to see them. Again,
Right.
I'm not saying all counselors like
Right.
that or anything like that. And she's not also recommending that you take every single kid out of counseling and every kid should not be in counseling.
Right.
But there should be for a period of time extended. She makes a big argument. I'm we're trying to condense this in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
One of her big arguments is though, like in this whole entire book, is that we have become softer. We don't tell our kids anymore, hey, toughen up.
Yeah.
Like, right, we don't tell them anymore, hey, that's a scraped knee. I'm not going to put a Band-Aid on it. I will hug you and I will comfort you, but I'm not going to give you medicine so you don't feel any more pain. Like, I'm
Right.
Like the where we've removed our kids now to avoiding all pain. Like, I get it as a dad. Like, I don't want my kids to go
No.
through what I did, man. I don't want my kids to struggle with what I struggle with. Like, man, I'm growing up, man. Like, we came from a very poor family. Like, we ate like some of the same meals for like weeks on end.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want my kids to experience some of
But
that.
there is power in
Yeah,
pain.
there's absolutely power in pain, and that's what she tries to argue. Like, you sometimes got to look into a kid with love in your heart. That's
Yeah.
okay, like toughen up.
Like yesterday. So here's a good an example of that. Like exactly what you were talking about. Benjamin had a cut on his finger, and he's in the backyard. He's got his cousins. They're playing or whatever, and he's kind of being whiny. He's tired and just been worn out. Well, he somehow scrapes his finger a little higher, and it's literally like a little bitty scrape, just enough for it to bleed. He's losing his mind that he's bleeding and he's Band-Aid. And I said, hey, stop. And he's like looking at me. I'm like, wipe it off. It's not that bad. Wipes it off and it stops bleeding. And he's like, but I need it. No, go play.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like the pain is really just like a flash in the pan distraction for you to get caught up in not growing,
Yeah.
right?
I think the pendulum shifts, right?
Yeah.
I think everything we always respond, right, to the other extremes, right? So like I come from the generation of like when I was in school, right? I'm a little bit older, right? I'm older than you, but like they still spanked in my school. Like when I was little in kindergarten, like your parents had to sign off. Like,
Really?
you get spanked at school or not. Like if they said yes, like you would go into the principal's office and you still pop you. Like, and I don't think I'm that old, man. Like I still like to consider myself like maybe I'll be older, starting to be young adult.
Right.
But I still consider myself young. I'm a millennial and things like that. But we still I begged my parents have to go in, and my parents are like, no. Like if someone's gonna spank you, I'm gonna be the one to spank you. I'm not gonna let some strangers spank you, right? And so like we ended a generation where like everybody would spank you, your neighbors, whatever. Like you were misbehaving, they would get you, they would spank you and send you away, right? So now we shifted to this other extreme with gentle parenting, right? Because some of that stuff was too extreme, right?
Right.
Some kids were dealing with maybe extreme issues, and our solution was like, we're gonna beat that out of them, right? So we shifted to the other extreme, to gentle parenting, right? But now we're starting to see all these other issues,
Rebellion skyrocket.
and all this kind of stuff. And she makes all these arguments like, man, these kids are not getting over their mental health. They're not getting over, like, if there's a generation that shouldn't be dealing with anxiety, who shouldn't be dealing with depression, be dealing with all this, it should be this generation because, like, they're the gentle parenting generation.
Right.
And so now it's like we have to get to that point where we go to that middle, like, where there is some toughening up, like, hey, I love you, I care for you, but you got to toughen up.
Right.
Like, it's like gentle but hard at the same time.
Right.
You got to find that balance. And again, I know this is very hot take-ish as a dad, and you're like, what do you know, Sly, and things like that. And I don't know. I mean, my kids may end up twice as messed up than I am, and I pray to God that they're not.
Right.
I got to do my best, right, to find that balance that works for our home, that works for my kids, for them to do that. I'm not saying that I beat my kids all over the place, but I'm telling them a little bit more like, hey, you scrape your knee, like, listen, I love you, buddy, but man, like, there's, like, get up and continue playing. You're gonna be all right.
And be self-sufficient. Like I know for me, like, Benjamin, it's he's 5, Noah's gonna be 2 this year, and I mean I kind of look at it and I'm like, okay, like she's just not old enough where he like kind of likes to play with her, but like, she's not playing Legos with him, and so like I'll play with him from time to time, but like I kind of make it a point to where like I don't overextend that. Because you also have to be. I don't want my kids to not be okay with just being with themselves either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like some people like are so codependent on having somebody else right there that it does kind of mess you up a little bit. And not saying that's every situation. I know that is a hot take also, but like you should be okay with kind of like being able to be self-sufficient, to be on your own, to be in your room by yourself and play and not be scared. Like that's a very like small thing, but like that's things kids deal with. And sometimes you kind of got to push them to be okay with
Yeah,
that.
because like I think the other extreme then is like then you put in an iPad or something in front of them to
That's
entertain
it.
them, and we've seen all the damages that screen
Yes.
time to these kids. Gen Alpha will probably be the most messed up generation when it comes to attention deficit.
Yeah.
Deficiency,
ADD.
ADD. Like you're gonna see a lot more AD come up because like the screen, the tablet, the touch, all the lights and things like that. Like, you're gonna see this kind of major rise in that, and so it's like it's kind of this weird thing. Like I want my kids to be okay to be in a room and play and not feel like I got to be in there like every single step of the way. Because like the truth is like laundry got to get done,
Right.
like kitchen got to get clean, food got to get cooked,
Yeah.
and they got to understand like it's okay to have the TV off and allow them to just
Right.
explore, man. Like I don't know, dude. Like again, I get it, it's a different generation. It's funny, dude. Again, man, we could talk about this for days, and I know we're kind of on a time crunch, but like there was a study done like we've become a safer as a country, right? Like after 9/11, right? The way the news started reporting medias and child abduction thing, like again, overall as a country, we've gone safer, right?
Right.
Because of the news cycle and the news media after 9/11 and realizing what sells and things like that. Again, 9/11, very tragic event that's happened, right? But the news capitalized on the tragedy.
Yeah.
So again, it was a study done, right? That kids are no longer like really like going out to play outside anymore
No.
without their parents. Like, dude, and I remember when I was a kid, man, we would be on our bikes until it was dark. Like, we'd be out in like the trenches. We'd be out going to different neighborhoods, trying to fight other kids in other neighborhoods,
Right.
and then we'd come back to home for dinner when it was nighttime. It was
Right.
dark, and we had no cell phones. We had no what's the app that all parents use now for their phones?
Oh, Safe Life or whatever.
Safe Life or whatever like that. Like we didn't have any of that.
Right.
We just showed up when we showed up, and our parents just hoped that we did.
Yeah.
And we did, right? And I think that's one of those cool things. Like, you know, me, man, I love Japan and have a mission for Japan and want to see God do a lot of amazing things in Japan. But like, that's one thing they teach, man. You see these little kids, man. You're talking about little, dude, like Benjamin's age, like going onto the subway on their own, going to school on their own. And I know that's a scary thought as a dad.
Yeah.
It's a terrifying thought just to send one of my kids. But they do that every single day, sending their kids off to school in busy subways and trains and things like that, and there they are, sufficient. They're teaching them to go to the grocery store and things like that. Jonathan Haidt, he talks about that in his book.
Yeah.
And I remember watching when he was on Rogan, and they were talking about it on Rogan, and where he was talking about like this idea that he tries to send their kids to like the bagel shop, right? And he gives them like a little flip phone and things like that, but just to go to the bagel shop to get breakfast in the morning in New York.
Right.
Send their kids out with the phone, and they'll be on the phone or whatever with them, but try to teach them some of that independency, right? We've lost that.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
And he's like, don't get me wrong, man, there's some real, like, I know with that, like, someone will jump in the chat or somebody will jump in the comments and say, well, I know somebody got abducted. Like, listen, those things are
It does
really
happen.
real. It does
And we
happen.
do live in a different age.
We do live in a different age, but at the same
But
time.
is it that extreme?
But that's the thing. Like, statistically, it is safer as a country. So I don't know, man. Like again, I don't know.
But then I guess it begs the question: if it's safer as a country, have we become more naive to our surroundings? And that's what I wonder.
I mean, yeah, I would say so.
Because like, you know, there was a point in time where it was like, hey, you kind of have a guard up,
Yeah.
but it's like kind of a light guard just to kind of be able to fill somebody out. And
You know, man, like the conversations about like third spaces, right? Like the disappearance of third spaces, right? Like no longer are we back in like in the days like third spaces, right? Like churches,
Right.
You know, school, you know, like big dances, community dances,
Right.
things like that, where the community would hang out. Like those places are slowly disappearing.
Right.
Again, AD is providing a third space for you. Come April 7th, to come and watch WrestleMania with him and
Bang,
hang out
bang.
with him, right? The importance of third spaces and community, but by and large, third spaces are disappearing. Right, and like people used to find a lot of their meaning in third spaces.
Right.
You come to church and you find meaning within community, things like that. And so that reminds me of a book that I read. I'm a really big man, like when I preach and things about community. I really believe in community and the importance of community. And so with that, I read a book, and by read a book, I looked at the smart notes of a book called Bowling Alone by Robert Pittman. I think Pittman. Putman, and he makes his whole entire argument like now as a country we now bowl alone, right? Like back in the day, bowling used to be these big community
Right.
spaces. Everybody used to bowl bowling leagues, and you'd go bowling alley, and that was the place.
Right.
Now you don't see that. It's no longer a team. People are just kind of bowling alone. And his whole entire argument in his book is that we have lost in like this kind of relational economy, right? Like back in the day, like relational capitalism is I think what he calls it. It's like back in the day, if your car broke down, you knew you had a neighbor 3-4 doors down that would come and help you. Would come and help you get your car started. He'd tinker within things like that. You need some kind of woodworking done. You knew you had somebody down the road that can come and do that. Like the neighborhoods watch for each other's kids. The neighborhood took care of each other. Like we kind of knew where the creek was. Like, hey, avoid that house. Don't go near that house, right?
Right.
But like we all took care of each other as a neighborhood, as a society, right?
Right.
We cared for each other, but we have now build up a picket fences, right? We've enclosed ourselves anymore, and like we really don't know our neighbors like we used to. We really don't know the people around us, and so part of that, I think, the issue that we just can't send our kids alone anymore to go to the park is because we don't know the people around us. And I know that's
very true.
I feel kind of guilty, right? Because like I know
true.
two of my neighbors, but I've done a really good job of really getting to know my neighbor across the street. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I remember one of my first like jobs that I did was like a lawn mowing business, and my lawnmower broke. I went to a neighbor and said, "Hey, man, can I borrow your lawnmower so I can mow some lawns?" Like, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
You know, but like
That ain't happening today.
Like, that ain't happening.
No, like first of all, if they even come to the door,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Ring camera. Like that's what I'm like. I mean, no, and it's so right. And I think like this could even this opens the door to even deeper conversation. Like when we have more time to get into talking about why and I think it's because we've gotten to we've become so busy as a society also that you don't have time. And because we've made ourselves that way, because society says that if you're busy, you're successful, right? And you're happy, and that just ain't the case.
That and I think busyness, man, you also got comfortable.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like I gotta give up a cup of sugar to my neighbor. That's my cup.
Inflation, bro.
Inflation, right? We got our comfort levels that we don't want to give up, man. And I get it. Like, so you know what? It's easier to be on my couch, maybe watch some sports, maybe watch some AD, right? It's easier to go ahead and do that than to be out there and get to know my neighbors. And get to know them.
Go on a neighborhood run, right? And where you get stuff. Hey, neighbor, how are you?
Get to really truly know them, man. And because, man, like I don't know, we isolate ourselves, and then again, not now. With social media, we're supposed to be the most connected of all society, of all generations of people. But if anything, like studies show, time and time again, we're like the loneliest, especially men. And I know when we started BadDad way back when, man, like our passion was like to help men not feel lonely, to help men not feel like you're all alone. And the truth is that there's other guys with you.
Yep.
There's other guys that want to run with you. And so like I know why you do the WrestleMania stuff. You don't do it just because you want to do a podcast and have tons of people. No, you do it because, man, you ultimately care about the community. You want people to come together over something they may all enjoy, which is wrestling or sports or basketball or a draft or anything like that. And I admire that because, like, the truth is, like, man, people are alone. And I don't know, maybe the takeaway, I think, out of all this is, like, if you're watching this and you feel alone, man, come and hang out. Come and hang out with AD.
We're here.
Come and hang out with us, man. Find you a church. Find your third space where you realize, like, it's not that bad.
No.
There's a lot of people out there that are feeling the same way. And jump right on in and begin to hang out with some folks.
That's awesome. That's an episode right there.
That's an episode, dude.
Well, guys, we hope y'all enjoyed this. Again, new hats. Check them out. Shout out No Rivals brand. If y'all want one, I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to give you one because we got these for the team. But if you go let Riley and her boy Nick know, you go message No Rivals, say, hey, where do I get the AD hat?
There you go.
Maybe they'll put them on the website. So, we appreciate it, Sly. Appreciate it as always, bro. It's great to share the mic with you again. And guys, maybe we'll see him back again. So, but guys, it's been BadDadPod with Sly Portillo and Tyler Jet Boyer. We will see you guys on the next one.